So we're going to work on substituting numbers for variables. And in our first example, we have two variables. Now they've given us actually numbers to substitute for three different variables. If we're given an x, a y, or a z. Okay, and we're going to get into all of them. But in our first one, what we want to do is get a feel for what variables we have. In the first one, they have an x, and the value for x is 6. So we're going to be replacing x with the number 6. We also have a z, and the value for z is -2. So we're replacing z with -2. Okay, so put a little equal sign. This expression is equal to. Now this actually says 2 times x. So when we go to plug this in, it will be 2 times 6. Okay, and then plus the value of 3 plus, and this one is just a -2. So we're going to write it in as -2. So there's a bit of integer rules we'll have to remember here. 2 times 6 gives us 12. Okay, plus 3. Now, when simplifying, when we're adding a negative, it's just like actually, do you remember the rules with these things at all? I'll write a quick one here. When you have integers beside each other, so we're adding and subtracting, you could actually just try to memorize the multiplication rules. So a positive times a positive is a positive, and negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, and then a negative times a positive, and their opposite is a negative. So with that being said, you can simplify when there's two beside each other and there's really no number in between. Think of it like a positive and a negative become a negative. So we can simplify that into one sign, that sign being negative, and then that value we have 2. So it's like subtracting 2. Okay, so we then have 12 plus 3 minus 2, which is actually going to be the value of 13. Okay, so there's one question. Let's work on another one. Let's say they give us something like this. Y squared minus 3x. Okay, so remember, y was equal to 8, and x was equal to 6, I believe. Is that right? X was equal to 6. Great. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace our x with the value of 6, and we're going to replace the y with the value of 8. So what that means is our 8 is still going to be squared. Okay, so we're going to have to square that value of 8, and this is going to be -3 multiplied by our value of 6. So if we type it into a calculator, 8 squared is going to be 64. Okay, and -3 times 6 is -18. Yeah, so it's a negative times positive, so it's a negative. So really this question now says 64 subtract 18. And in that case, I think we're going to end up with 46 will be our final answer. Let me see. 4, yeah, that's right. Okay. And one other example I would like to do. Let's say we have x plus y times z minus x. Okay. Let's just keep in mind z was our value of -2, I believe, right? So this is all variables. So what we're going to do in this one, there's a couple ways we can solve it. We can distribute, but what we're going to do is just plug directly in. So we know y is 8, so we'll plug that directly in. Both of our x's, there's 2 in this equation, are the value of 6. And our z is actually -2. Okay, so we're going to plug those in here. Go up just a little so I can see them. So our brackets will then read, I'm going to replace x with 6. I still keep the operation outside, plus y will become 8, and I'm going to keep them all in brackets around here, okay? Just so we have an idea of what's going on. Z will be -2, and it's going to be subtracted by x was 6. Okay. So according to BEDMAS, we always deal with our brackets first. Well, all of our numbers we've kind of put in brackets, so this looks confusing. But if we look really closely in the bracket, it's just a number. There's nothing to simplify. So we can kind of drop these brackets off. So really the question now reads, and we'll write it a little simpler, 6 plus 8 times -2 minus 6. Okay. Well, 6 plus 8 is going to give us a value of 14. We always deal with in the brackets first. And in the other bracket, -2 minus 6 is actually -8. Now a bracket beside a bracket means multiplication. Okay, so we'd have to multiply these values. We'll take out a little calculator. So we have 14 by 8 when it's negative is equal to negative 112. So our final answer is negative 112. Okay, so that's everything we've done with substituting numbers for